Alrighty. Here we are in Singapore. I think they can hear me. Alrighty, Milo, how are you doing, today?
Yep, another good, excited day for this. Is we've got some light rain at the moment, which will last all through qualifying, and another long, dramatic race on the way, I hope.
Yeah, liking the new graphics, I appreciate that. It's definitely good. Right now, I'm just looking on sending the link to the stream chat. It is already up, never mind. I'm just appeared online, so that's also good because if I wasn't, it wasn't going to be able to show it. So great designs, I love this. Either way, we have some guys making their first start technically, as Razone does complete a lap. Technically, ARL making his first start. Last week it was a DNS. And I believe that's actually it, but some people do return after a week or two. Danny returning to the grid. Also, GSRX returning. DW returns to the league. And by that, DW did not show up today. He had a quality ban. That quality ban won't transfer over into the next race, by the looks of it, because that new rule from this season, not transferring over to next races. How perfect is it going to be to have track position today, as we saw in Tier 2? The track position really mattered.
Tier 2, yep. So you really have to capitalise on the wet conditions. I'm going to admit that I was appalling in the exact same qualifying conditions yesterday, and it really caught me out behind many slower and damaged drivers. So it's so important you're near the front in these conditions. And we see Boca, you know, he's won, 3 in a row now. Incredible start to the season. He is the runaway leader of the championship, so he could easily have put it in the wall somewhere and started back and had maybe not score any points today. So it's lucky that he's got a lap on the board, because track position is critical.
Yeah, we saw, I mean, a podium from Squid Jr. with how crazy that was. Squid Jr. DNF last time out in Bahrain. Before that, I mean, it's such a crazy track to race in Singapore, and we had the incident all the time with Kagoda, the safety car restart. What'd you think about, I mean, you're a racer from Tier 2, Milo, you can be maybe a little bit biased from this, but what did you think about the safety car incident with Kagoda and the rest of the field?
Well, yeah, I did watch it back from a couple of different angles, but I think people are right in saying that he didn't leave it enough time, because Pluto demonstrated some good restarts and how it should be done. It's not like the conditions were any different in the race throughout the whole thing. So, yeah, there should have been some more backing off. But obviously it went right to the finish line. Most people picked up penalties, so I think it's only right for Kagoda to, you know, have some of the penalties himself.
Yeah, and Boker to the top again. He's so fast right now in this wet condition, but it won't last in the wet condition the whole time in the race. It turns to dry, considering it is raining a little bit in Singapore right now. Definitely probably the lightest it can be right now. Either way, yeah, some finishes yesterday too that were outstanding. Thrasher, he's in chat. His P5 yesterday, one of his best results in this new era. Didn't expect that when I came into this. Beatnik also took the win. Adam Fav, also a first-time podium. First-time podium from everyone on the podium yesterday. How about that?
Yeah, really interesting stat. And with, you know, similar conditions, we could end up having the same thing here today. It's a big question mark as of now.
Now, here's a fun stat. This is the first time outside of Tier 2 that it has rained. So, it's never really rained in Tier 1. So this is the first time. These drivers are used to the rain. Now, not really used to the rain. It's kind of like how it was the big gap between 2018 and 19 Germany. It's been a whole season, really, since we've seen any rain. And we finally get to see it. Anyway, Silent, are you ready for the point standings here? Because now we're going to be talking about the point standings. Milo. Yup. Either way, Milo. Last race back in Bahrain, we saw as we saw. What did you think of the stuff in back in Bahrain?
Well, it could easily happen again today. You know, late safety cars, late collisions. You know, we could see Boca being pressured right to the last lap if that all happens. So another mixed race that was, because we saw, you know, collisions, we saw brilliant battles. Yeah, that's just summed up that race in 2 words, really.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta really think about the big picture with this race, and I mean, what we saw last time out was insane. As we have, who was it who just came to the line? I believe it was GSRX up to P4. Anyway, no, I want to talk about some of the finishes last time we had. Due to the penalty in the last lap and the stuff with the restart with Rapalukas and F1 driver, both fell down the order. Rapalukas because of penalties, F1 driver because of a spin. And how do you look at that whole stuff with those guys finishing 8th and 10th?
Well, it's not only a blow for them, but it's a blow for them in the championship, because, you know, everyone wants to stop Boca from this amazing streak he wants. You know, maybe even us as commentators, we want a new winner.
Yeah,
so
they can have history today. Ooh, axe. Oof, into the wall.
Yeah, F1 driver would be the most gutted, though, because he was on for a brilliant podium after a brilliant strategy. What he did was flawless last week, so whereas Rapalukas might have felt some satisfaction in knocking him off from 3rd place. So
oh yeah,
we'll have to see how the rivalry continues, because they are up for it, as we've seen. If you've kept up to date with Alpha League on Instagram, then you'll see that they are prepared for more battle.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the thing. That's what we love in Alpha Racing League. Last season, we had the battle between F1 driver and Nufsy Ryan. Those two gone into it a few times. Those two had some issues. And we saw the best of it, and maybe even the worst of it, between those two on racetrack. In Italy, and even back in USA. A battle for the race win and a battle for the lead. Caused a lot of drama with a late safety car in Italy also. Today, do we see a late safety car, and does anyone challenge Boker, Milo?
In the dry, I think we'll start to see the gap decrease, but we know how good he is on pads and how good he can capitalise in the wet. It's proven, you know, that they do get on better in the wet. So if we do see a challenge, it will come towards the end of the race, like last week. I think some luck will be needed from the other guys, I think, with strategy, safety cars, not making any errors. So I think he will be challenged.
Yeah, Boker today, history in ARL with 4 wins in a row. No one's ever done that. Let's just think about that. GSR Riles, I apologize, actually did 3 in a row last season, twice in tier 2. Boker is currently on a streak ever since his Abu Dhabi first start. He's 100% win streak. No one's ever done that with more than 3 or more starts. Can Boker keep that streak alive today, or is he going to bend into a wall with the changing conditions? Who goes for the dry tires at the right time, because it's just going to be dry for the little part of the start?
Yeah, the change point is absolutely critical in this race, because you either pit a lap early and become quicker on the out lap, you either pit a lap late and try to avoid all the mess in the pit stops. Anything can go wrong through the changeover period, so Boca has to make sure he gets that absolutely right. With him being the leader, we expect, with his healthy margin to P2 in qualifying at the moment, he has to nail it. He's right in the middle of the pit lane, so that does play a factor to whether he gets held, whether he gets jumped, so there's a lot of factors.
There's only 3.5 minutes left in this quali session. Singapore, it was the longest race yesterday in ARL history in Tier 2. Do you think today gets even longer, including the rain and the safety cars and all the mess we had yesterday, and maybe that transfers over to today?
Bearing in mind that Tier 2 we had no rain during the race, and at the start, I do think it will be longer. How long, though, is the question, because it all does matter on safety cars, virtual safety cars, crashes, everything really.
Yeah, Danny actually gone even faster, I think, and gone up to P2, just close to Boker. Yeah, I mean, with the scattered thunderstorms we've seen all weekend about rain, I think we got lucky with it not being as heavy as it was. Originally, the way it looked was heavy rain, light rain to heavy rain, and then one just being light rain. I mean, it looked pretty difficult for what the weather looked like, and we go based off of the real-life weather, so that's the difference in this league compared to most leagues. So, obviously, with that being a factor in it, you know, the conditions really changed as of late, and this is what it looks like as of right now. Well, 2 minutes left in the session. Tier 2 and Tier 3 head to Australia next week as our lane actually goes up to P3.
It's actually getting close now for the pole time set by Mr. Boca at the moment, 1:51.2. Axe is starting a lap as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's so close at the front now that I look at it, but AMS Tax also comes to the line, and he is P6 on his intermediate tires in this. Atlantis J20's left the session. Hopefully you can re-invite him, Milo.
Yes, I can try. That might be internet though. It has been all day.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was. So, later part of the qualifying session, Boker's up by at least 3/10 right now. He really wants a pole again, and he is coming to the start-finish line. And it is even pole even more. 150.9, 5/10 faster than anyone else. Really, Fungus actually retires for the session right now. So, last time out in Bahrain, we saw a podium from Polo God. So we have a yellow flag, actually. Let's find out what that is first. I don't know who it is. Either way, before we end this qualifying session, we had Polo God on podium last week. The first points finished by him in 11 races, which was his last podium also in Bahrain. So, how do you look at that, Milo? For him.
No, it's a brilliant confident booster, because, you know, he was complaining about his really poor luck in Mercedes. He's got out of the team, finally got a podium as Axe goes fourth. I was on board with him. Yeah, he's currently 11th Polo. He's just 6 thousandths off Felipe. Oh, sorry, 12th now. So it's nice to see he is close to Felipe, Rapalucas as well, Sam, Tax, F1 driver Rizal. No, he's close to all these quick drivers, so can't be too disheartened by this qualifying either.
Polo God actually starts his lap now. Down in P12. People we saw, in the post-race interview last week, we saw Felipe, Rapalucas, and maybe even Boker, the top three for this race. We actually thought this race was going to be a challenge, and it looks like it as of right now. But with this qualifying session, it's only in wet conditions, so it doesn't mean all necessarily right now. This doesn't mean anything, because it's just qualifying. The race will mean a lot more. We have 3 guys out of the session already, but coming to the start-finish line, it is Mr. Boker pitting, actually, but the Red Bull goes to the line of John to start his lap, and Axe is actually out of the session already at the end. Ooh, well, checkered flag is out, and we have a few cars coming to the line. Nobody really changes position right now, but next up is that McLaren of Felipe. 3/10 up right now into Sector 3.
And just behind him as well, Rizal. He is now in Sector 3, so this is going to be a race-changing qualifying session if they can hook up the final few corners. Felipe into the final corner.
It looks like he might at least improve, but how much? Up to P9. Rizone, P6 on the boards right now, and there's a racing point behind of TSR Norris. Arlane's actually retired from the session. Contact with the wall, and Rizone comes to the line. How much is it for him to improve? It's up to second. Usually you see impressive qualifying sessions from him, but he got up to the front row. Now TSR Norris up on his time a little bit. It goes not even enough. It's 19th, the back row of the grid. F1 driver, a 10th down. Oh, cuts the corner and spins out.
Oh.
John, the last one to complete the checkered flag. It might not even be enough, but he hits the wall.
He's hit the wall.
John, this time to the checkered flag. He doesn't have damage, but considering what we... Oh, he hits the wall again. This time he does. That's a commentator's curse. But coming to the line, is he at least going to improve at least a little bit on his time? Coming to the start-finish line, it is not even enough. Mr. Boker, Rizone, front row this time in Singapore. We're going to see a wet start. We're going to go over it once to watch in a little while. Well, let's go over the starting lineup in just a second here, but 2.5 seconds separate the field in this qualifying intermediate session. So, based off of what we saw in qualifying, Mr. Boker, another pole. Can he convert that into another race win? Rizone on the front row. Danny, after missing Bahrain as a reserve, P3. Arlane, P4. GSR Axe, P5. John, F1 driver, Tax, Felipe, and Sam Cedar on the top 10. Some names down there. Rapalucas, Polo God, Atlantis, and also Alabama Outlaw. Some of the big names down there. I think it's only fair to go over once to watch in a minute. I said I would give the opportunity to give it to you, Milo, for the ones to watch for now.
You did.
I did. Now, I've got to ask. Change from wets to dries. How quick does that start?
Well, we're looking at about a third of the race. With the weather system for 50%, you've got 3 possible slots. You know, it syncs to the race effectively. So if there's 31 laps, around lap 10 we're looking at. So everyone will start changing onto hards, I would assume, as, or maybe even mediums if in hope of another safety car. So there will be a mix, and that will make this race even more exciting.
So, how many safety cars do we see, including VSCs? Safety cars, VSCs, how many of them do we see?
Well, yesterday we had 3 full safety cars and 2 virtual safety cars. You know, it could just be 4 and 1 or 2-2. There's a whole range of combinations because the game likes to be inconsistent with how it deploys it. I reckon we'll get one immediately on lap 1. I think we'll see one at around lap 7-ish, you know, when people start to wear down their tyres. I think we're looking as many as 4, to be honest.
Yeah. I kind of agree with that, especially with these wet conditions. I mean, I expect a safety car from the driest, when it changes to the dry conditions, and I do expect a safety car at least with less than 10 laps to go, at least. I'm not saying 2 to go like last week. I'm not going to say that. Hey, I did predict it, though, last week, so that's a good thing. Either way, Milo, you're 3 to watch here in Singapore.
It's got to be rude not to mention Mr. Boker. He is about to make history if he wins this race. the short history that Alpha League has. He's about to break yet another record, and he's only not even been here that long. Rizone as well. I've personally seen some brilliant battles between these two. LTRL Bahrain, Monza last season. These two.
Germany.
Sometimes.
Except for the battery sign.
Yes, and Germany this past week as well. So these two sometimes don't even leave any inch of space. They battle so hard on track. My final one we'll go with F1 driver. He's looking to climb through the field. You know, he was cruelly punted off the podium last week, so this will be his redemption opportunity. That's my 3.
All right, well, I'll go with my 3. I'll go in the other opposite way. Rappalucas. You know what? This is one of his best tracks. Wheel track, this is what it is. And I feel like with this track, you know what? I'm going with all the wheel users right now. And I'm just thinking, you know what? With these conditions, he can do a lot today. How can things shape up for him when the conditions change to the dry? And how is it going to be in the midfield there, along with Felipe? Felipe is also on a steering wheel, too. The thing is, with him, he said this is one of his best tracks. Will that prove this weekend? And how will his start be? It all is going to matter on the start. And my last one is obviously Arlane. Arlane, how can you not count out him and the good pace he has? He's always shown the pace. But does he win today a podium? It would be his first. All right, here we go. For the 5 red lights here in Singapore. The nighttime, it is raining, and that's how it starts off. Here we go. It is lights out, and it is a wet start. Will we see another 2017? Rizone gets off the line side by side with him. They're 3 wide in the back, actually the front of the field. 3 wide, there's contact with Danny, and Danny goes off the track, but Rizone gets passed by Arlane. Arlane 4th to 2nd already. Axe side by side with Tax. Axe gets by, but side by side between Danny and Rizone. Danny goes around. There's a pile up. Axe, I think, is involved. Multiple drivers involved. Danny being one of them, but the few front wings broken. And I think Typhoon got in the back of Jarv. 3 wide going into this part of the section now. Rappalucas and F1 driver. 1 car splits in between them. That's GSR Axe. AMS Tax gained on Felipe. Felipe gained a lot of positions right there. Polo God down the inside of Sam Steve gets cut off. Gouts here, up to P10 already, and down the field, TSR Norris and some of the other people go. Oh, wow, a lot of cars running the back of each other into this long left-hander that there is.
Also one of the most chaotic starts I've seen. Everyone, there's a Mercedes off. I think. Just went in the corner of my eye.
Go side by side through there. I don't even know how they're going to keep it side by side, but how is the braking going to go into here? Look at down the inside goes Typhoon, trying it on the first lap, but Danny hits the inside barrier, and Alabama Outlaw goes around the outside there and might take that position, but Felipe is loose and sideways. He loses the position to Tax, might lose 1 to F1 driver here, and might also lose 1 to Axe, but side by side for P5, Felipe F1 driver, and there is a spin somewhere. It is TSR Norris. F1 driver by Felipe, and we keep the first lap pretty clean with no safety car at least, or no VSC.
Yeah, really good start from Tax and F1 driver. They've already got some positions off the line. Felipe as well, but he was struggling and eventually lost those positions to Tax and F1 drivers. So now, can he stick with them? This will be a developing battle throughout the race.
Must have got damage from that whole incident of the first lap. He's going to have to pit this time. Getting caught up in others' messes, but hey, this race ain't over yet. Axe is by Felipe, and they're inside of each other. That's nice. They're inside of each other.
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
Neither are yielding, though. There we go.
That's fixed, at least, but Rappalucas gaining on Felipe. And when will the conditions dry up in Singapore? It's going to be still cloudy. Now Rappalucas tries to dive down the inside, and he's going to make it through. Felipe cannot challenge that with his wing damage. No way he could challenge that one. A dive down the inside by Rappalucas gets by, and again, 1 spot closer to F1 driver. Those two somehow, like I always say, cannot get away from each other on the racetrack, and they prove it this week again, with Axe actually gaining on him. Well into the hairpin now. Axe behind F1 driver. Behind that, Rapalucas, Felipe, Sam Steed, and the rest of the field. Typhoon is actually out of the race again. This time retires manually. And that causes a virtual safety car. People will have to yield to this. So, what have we seen so far from your perspective, Milo?
Well, just pure chaos. Everyone just so close on that one in the wet conditions at Singapore. You know, we've seen it in 2017. We avoided a repeat. We've only had one car out, which is good. So it's positive. Everyone was trying to keep it as clean as possible. But yes, this race is not over for the likes of Polo, John, TSR Norris. As we go green flags again, start of lap 3.
It's also not over for Danny, who also spun in lap 1. But now, that race lead actually between Arlane and Boker. One of the challenges we've seen earlier in the race between Boker and Arlane. Boker didn't get pole last time, but I believe this is the first time. Well, we've had 3 different pole winners in the last 3 races, in the first 3 races actually. Just to recap that, it's been Graham, John, and Boker. Now we had that change with Boker. Typhoon leaving the session now, but Axe is going to gain an F1 driver. No DRS enabled in yet because it is still in the rain.
Reminder that as soon as you see the little DRS enabled icon pop up in the bottom left, if it's visible on the stream, I think it might be. Yeah, that is when the game thinks it is sensible enough for dry tyres, as Polo is past Jarve, Gautier is past Rumbly Fungus.
Gautier doing pretty good in these conditions. I mean, I know I don't know if he's really, I don't know if iRacing allows the wet conditions. I don't know much about it, to be honest, but if it does, I mean, he's definitely used to it on other racing games for sure, I can assume. So Gautier getting by right there, and the gap between the race lead is 1 second. So Felipe stays tight with Rapalucas. They gain positions. Felipe lost some later, and Rapalucas did gain some positions out of that. But let's check. Oh, Rumbly Fungus leaving the session. You should bring him back. Yep. Something we need to focus on is the positions gained. 2 for Arlane, 4 for Tax, 4 for Rapalucas, 6 for Gautier, and you also have 11 positions lost for John, 3 for Polo, 8 for Danny, and 1 for Rizone and Axe.
He's been invited.
All right, Boker, fastest lap already in these intermediate conditions, but the track is actually dried up at this point at some part of the track. Well, actually, it looked like it did for a minute, but it's still raining. My apologies there. Yeah, it did look like it dried up for a minute through the track. It looked like it was getting less and less wet, but it really wasn't. So that was my mistake. As we still see Axe trying to gain an F1 driver in these conditions. Axe better in these conditions than before, so he's gonna have to try to do something he can to maybe gain himself up a place or 2, along with Rapalucas if he wants to have a chance at Boker or even a podium. Both champions from this season, or this past season, Riles and Rapalucas, have struggled. They've had issues, and today, is that the day it changes for Rapalucas? Is it? I mean, it could be. Milo, what do you think?
Well, yeah, he's had a lot to learn recently from that error last week in Bahrain. If he wants to get through, it's all about patience in the wet conditions now, so he is incredibly fast at the moment, so we will just have to wait on that one.
Well, certainly. Now, we have Axe getting closer to F1 driver, but now Felipe getting close to Rapalucas. We also have Danny getting close to Gautier for that final points position. But when do you as we see Danny have damage, when do you think this stops raining? I think around lap 8 at earliest.
8 at earliest. Well, yeah, that's a good point. It could be totally random. You know, as soon as we hit a third of the way through is the prediction or the expected time. These drivers will know more because they have more weather icons to look at, so they can make a better estimate. But lap 8 is not a bad shout.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with us going off of real life weather, we know what the conditions are this time in the lobby, but the thing is we don't know when it will actually stop raining. They do. They have weather reports from Jeff, which something I'll talk about F1 2020 for a minute. something for the spectator menu. We do need something to know more about the weather.
Yeah.
I mean, we have the track map, which is really good, which is really helpful, but I think we need to know more about the weather in the spectator menu. That would definitely be something to help out on the F1 games in the future.
Even just track temperature, you know, like, I can't think. Precipitation, that's the one. Just having that on the screen, that would be so helpful, as Danny's passed Gautier, even with damage, so this just proves he would be still right up at the front, if not for the lap 1.
Yeah, definitely one of the best finished drivers in the league. Sorry, Tax. Definitely up front from what we saw in France, and can battle Tax, previous race winner. So if you could battle a race winner in ARL and Tier 1, that's definitely an accomplishment. So, Axe still close to F1 driver. Felipe losing time to Rapalucas, but Rapalucas is kind of staying even with Axe. Now for the race lead also. 1.8 seconds is the difference, and it looks like actually the rain has stopped a little bit, if that makes sense. It's stopped raining a little bit more. Maybe the track just got dry, did it? Did it just get dry?
I think it has stopped raining. I think it has stopped raining.
Okay then. Well, Mr. Boker, fastest lap on those intermediates this lap as soon as it stopped raining.
Yeah, this is where the track is perfect for the intermediates. We'll see the slick tyres being used sometime soon.
I mean, even if we get a late safety car or even something that happens in this race, even if we have a drama, you know to expect it. You know what goes on. F1 driver running close attacks. His Alfa Romeo. Then you have Rapalucas actually gaining on Axe for P6. Then you have down in the midfield, down toward outside the points, Gautier, Bama, and Atlantis. And then you have behind ABS Jarv and John for P16. Yeah, when is the right time to pit? Because I just saw that in chat. Apologize for cutting in there. When is the right time to pit? When do you think? I say lap 7, lap 8, at earliest.
Yeah,
very earliest.
It's a long lap, so obviously in terms of lap count, the water will be shifted, and the track will dry up much sooner. So if it was Austria, it would take much longer, maybe even 5 to 10 laps, if the rain was that severe. So we will see it in the next couple of laps, I expect.
Now for P8, actually, Sam Seed is within DRS range. Once that does get enabled, I would expect about in the next 20 to 60 seconds it does get enabled. I feel like that's fair to say. I mean, yeah, there's still some spray, but I don't think it's enough. I mean, we saw in Japan 2014 what that even caused with DRS being enabled at the point it was. But hey, when that was enabled, it was enabled around these conditions, around what it looks like right now. Will it be enabled as soon as Boker hits Sector 2? When do you think it will be enabled?
Just looking at the standing water, it is reducing. There's still a little bit of spray from the tyres, but once we see that reduced, then it will be enabled. Obviously, the game is much more different to real life. In Japan 14 was a tragic weekend, unfortunately, so would have been changed since then. Mechanics of the game, for sure, but
yeah,
I think it will be this lap. The track is looking much drier, and the spray is reducing.
Yeah, I think this is probably the first lap we'll see some people pit. Right now, actually, we see John pit into the pit lane already. Is this the first stop for softs, mediums, or hards? How does it go? It goes for the hard compound tires for John. Now, does TSR Norris pit? No, he actually decides to stay out. How do things go? Will we see even more racing when we see the condition? When the tires change? We should be able to see more racing at this point in the race. We see F1 driver closing in on Tax. Atlantis closing in on Bama for P12. And then Rumbly Fungus and Jarv still trying to go gaining positions on each other and gaining positions on each other, and they actually change positions as Rumbly Fungus yet to come back. Now he's joined.
Yeah, I just invited him as I just noticed in the Discord. His game crashed, so he's back in at the right time. We're about to change on to Slicks.
So, Boker does not decide to pit. He decides to stay out, but does R-Lane decide to pit? Is this a lap too late, maybe, that they're going to try? I mean, there's still some spray. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think softs and stuff will definitely be a decidable strategy pretty soon here as we see. I mean, we saw John's trying it. How much is this going to change? 10.1, 10.8. I mean, yeah.
Pace.
Here, let's see if that's a 10 or 16. Yeah, that's actually changing. So, yeah, it's actually getting better now. Maybe a lap too late as we see. Right now might be the right strategy to come in. Yeah, here we go. Gautier, I believe. Or no, Sam Steed, yeah. Or no, I'm sorry, Gautier. First one coming in. Atlantis goes and stays out, but does Polo come in? Is it a lap too late? Did Gautier try early? Too early? When is it the right time to pit?
Softs? Sorry, there's softs going on Gautier. He's being really aggressive with this. He's also going for a front wing change. Honestly, it's hard to predict. Oh, there's a yellow flag. This could change everything. No, it hasn't. Okay.
Oh, like Fungus has gone into a wall.
Let's just wait on this one. Okay, it's green flag. He's back underway. Honestly, if a safety car could have come out there, that would have been perfect for everyone. Everyone piling into the pit lane, getting the slicks on now, ready for when we go racing again.
Or even someone trying a strategy, but Rumbly Fungus does pit for his front wing. But now, let's focus on the race leaders. What were you going to say?
You know, the leader dictates almost when to put on the slicks, as he is pulling away massively from our lane since the rain stopped. So this will be a trigger for sure. TSR Norris has gone on mediums, by the way, and Jarv hards as well. Rumbly Fungus has put on more inters. Oh, he's definitely gone wrong there.
Well, I think Boker's staying out again.
He is.
There's not much spray, so I don't think this is the... I mean, these guys are really, really begging for safety car to come out at this point. I don't blame them. This is, I mean, if this is the way they go, I mean, let's look at what everyone else does. Tax is going to stay out. F1 driver. Pits with Axe. Yeah, now is the right stretch. Now it's the right time. Yeah, now it is. I mean, the track's drying. Every chance it has, I mean, to do so. Rappalucas comes in. Yeah, is it a lap too late for Boker and them? Because, like, let's look at this.
Everyone's
the gap
pitting.
between... Yeah. The gap between Gautier and Polo and softs and inners are changing. The gap between... DRS... Yeah, there you go. They waited for DRS enabled. There's the trigger. There's the trigger. And mediums and hards going on for some guys. F1 driver and Axe on mediums. Sam Steed on mediums. Felipe on hards. And along with Alabama Outlaw hitting Atlantis, Danny, and the rest of the field. Sam Steed going on to mediums. Is this a lap too late for them, though, in the front of the field? Does F1 driver try the undercut and tax into his zone?
Oh, F1 driver, massive save! What a save! Oh, that was a reaction and a half. Sorry.
Just clicked off of that.
No, I'm gonna clip that. That was great.
A text. Whoa, yeah, I just saw the end of that in stream. Holy cow.
Yep.
Enabled, not
enabled.
Jesus, silent. Good one. Oh, good one. Well, yeah,
you've got to laugh
at
at us.
F1 driver and Tax. That one was great. Yeah, Tax is definitely... Yeah, is F1 driver going to steal the lead from this, actually? Because look at how much he's getting on Tax, actually. Holy cow. Boker, does he decide to pit this time along with the Williams behind? Boker is pitting this time. Along with R-Lane, possibly. R-Lane is pitting. DRS enabled was the right time, but everyone pitted. I mean, they had to go another lap around the track.
Oh, his own spins on the pit entrance!
Oh, no!
He's clipped the inside wall. He's got some damage as well.
An F1 driver should surely probably take at least a podium from this, at least in the podium spot. So, penalty. He's definitely going to get the undercut on Tax from this, for sure. Now he might get it on his own, considering he's spun and needs to change the front wing. R-Lane's at the exit of the pits, and look how much F1 driver's gaining.
This is going to be close.
for P2. Axe is actually going to gain on him. Axe
F1 driving
again.
gets
F1
P2.
driver. Oh, but he goes wide. F1 driver goes by Arlane as Axe now has his first challenge to challenge Arlane. And Sam Steed's actually closer to Axe. What has this decided? Gautier also takes the fastest lap on softs.
I get the penalty.
Also. There you go. There you go.
Axe gets a penalty as well.
Yep. Wow.
And John.
See, this is the changing of conditions that we wanted to see. Now, if I check real life weather, I mean, it's not the most accurate basically with how the changes. Yeah, now it's mostly cloudy. I mean, it did say thunderstorms later on tonight. So if we ran, later on tonight by Norris fastest lap, if we ran later tonight by say, I don't know, another 6 hours later, we definitely have it in for us because right now, with the way it looks, it does look pretty heavy later on today in Singapore. Luckily, it wasn't then because it could easily change a lot of things. Well, yeah, I mean, medium tires for Axe and F1 driver, but Arlane trying the hards. Definitely F1 driver gaining position. Now that Axe hits the back of Arlane.
Axe is 100% quicker here on these mediums. They would have heated up quickly. They have much more grip at this stage in the race. Now, when does he make the move?
Hold up, you know what I'm thinking? Arlane might have just screwed over his strategy. I think at this point you could go mediums to mediums, I'm thinking. You probably could go to mediums to mediums with the dry conditions. You might be able to. You just might. Oh, locking up! Wow.
Easy.
Missed. Be nice there, Axe, because, oh yeah, a little bit of lag. That's pretty nice. Ooh, Axe goes wide again, though. Oh, not even good for him, but F1 driver now pulls away from Arlane, and F1 driver's challenge is actually Boker. 15 seconds is that gap. No safety car, no VSC yet, but hey, I mean, it took a while in Bahrain to have at least a safety car. We saw a VSC at least once before a safety car popped up in Bahrain.
This is obviously the longest race on the Formula 1 calendar. We've got 31 laps in a 50% race, and we're only a third distance now, so there is still huge potential for a safety car.
Norris, there you go. Fastest lap by the other Racing Point driver. Racing Point only had 1 point in Tier 2 yesterday. That's for pole, and Axe almost turns Arlane and he's through him. Axe moves Arlane to get by him, and Axe is through.
There's damage.
The game won't let me switch. All right, there we go. Yeah, Arlane has damage.
I'm rewatching on the stream quickly. Of course it buffers. Great.
Boker, Rumbly Fungus, fastest lap. It's a change in fastest lap, and that fastest lap is going to get even quicker pretty soon on the racetrack. Now, a late safety car, a late VSC. You pit? I mean, if you're Boker, I mean, do you try to go fastest lap? What do you do? Because you don't know what kind of position you can be in from this point. And especially considering you're the faster driver, how will it go? Tax goes by Arlane on the front straight here. They're side by side into turn 1. Tax is through, but he's not totally clear yet. Contact between the two, and Tax might just be ahead there, squeezing him just off the racetrack just a little bit, and Tax is through. Now Sam Steed gets to challenge Arlane.
Arlane has their DRS on Tax, and this has happened in LDRL. They've collided as they go down the boulevard, and down the inside goes Arlane again.
Oh, off the track goes Tax, and now down the inside of the hairpin where Russell and Grosjean collided. Arlane locking up, and Arlane stays ahead, but Sam Steed has his challenge and his money up for Tax.
Sam has a brilliant view of this, and I'm enjoying this on board a lot because...
But behind that, Felipe and Razone, I apologize to cut in there again. Behind that, those two battle, but Tax and Arlane into the hairpin keep it clean. Well, I mean, Danny penalty right there for exceeding track limits. We've seen so much in this race so far. I mean, more than Tier 2 with a cleaner race and more chaoticness with the conditions. Boker sets fastest lap, then Rumbly Fungus takes it back. How about that?
Yeah, Rumbly Fungus is unfortunately a lap down.
speaking of getting lapped, at the back of the pack, Norris, John Jarve looked like they might get lapped soon, but hey, it ain't over for those guys, including Polo and Atlantis, and even Gautier and Bama. Back outside the points, it isn't over for them. Now, DRS enabled for Tax down into turn 1. Not close enough for a move, but Sam is getting a good view of this, and he is going to be able to watch these guys go back and forth. Behind that, Rapalucas gaining on Razone and Felipe, but into turn 5, I think that is. Now heading down the straight for DRS. Tax moves to the inside. Arlane gives the room and is fair enough. And now those two side by side. It is Tax ahead, but ooh, I think Arlane almost hit the back of him.
Certainly a lockup. Danny is in again. Oh, this contact with Razone and Felipe as I'm on board with this battle now as well. Just a tenth separate them into the old Singapore sling.
He's close enough for moving to the hairpin. I've tried it while practicing. Is it enough to make a move? He's very close this time, but now that gap actually fades away.
Rapalucas is joining this fight as well.
Oh! A little bit sideways for him. Last season's champion Rapalucas and Riles for Tier 2 and Tier 1. It hasn't gone too well for them. And Rumbly Fungus, fastest lap, it's not going too well for them. They hopefully can improve their pace and improve their luck for sure on this side. Maybe Singapore with a late race safety car can change a lot of things. If it happens, who knows? Halfway through the race almost. Now with Tier 2 yesterday. Tier 2 was our lane penalty already, but Tier 2 was safety car central, really. Now it's been really calm with the VSCs and safety cars. Not many other VSCs or safety cars today. And Razone stays behind Felipe, but Rapalucas is seeing a great view of this, as Sam Steed is going to have DRS and Arlane. Arlane starting to struggle on those hards. Obviously, mediums to mediums is going to be what we're probably going to see here between the guys. I would expect, at least.
Mediums are really good race tyres. And here comes Sam. Arlane defends and defends twice.
Ooh. And down the inside Sam goes, but runs off the racetrack along with Arlane. Sam runs off the racetrack to get that spot and keeps the spot this time.
Arlane has hit the other wall and got more damage.
Zone and Felipe close again into this Singapore sling, now into the right-hander, then the tight left-hander, and then you have the hairpin. Singapore has many corners, 23 of them.
Razone gets a good exit.
Such a fun racetrack to race, as you can see, because now Razone goes to the outside, and he's going to be able to go around the outside. There's contact, almost squeezing him in the barrier, and Felipe stays ahead, but Razone looked down the inside, and it was just not enough right there.
That was almost exactly the Russell Grosjean thing. Corner. Because you've been saying differently. I really don't know if I'm right or wrong at this point.
The Russell O'Jarve is actually out of the race, and this is going to cause a safety car. He is out toward the hairpin. And will this cause anything? Oh, he's gone off, yeah.
Nothing
Yellow
yet.
Flags still. We don't see a safety car or VSC just yet, but we're still seeing yellow flags, and now it's back to green flags halfway through the race. Wow. Razone close to Felipe this time. Felipe is actually gaining on Arlane in the drier conditions. Not what Arlane needs in this kind of spot. He doesn't need the pressure from Felipe, as you see. Razone.
So late on the brakes.
This is Formula One. This is Alpha League right now you're watching. This is the battles. You see it Singapore. You wouldn't see it at any of the street circuit besides Baku, I would say, this type of battles between these guys. Anyway, Jared leaving the session. Anyway, I got to talk to you, Milo. Vietnam and Zandvoort into the next game. How much are you looking forward to that?
Well, not a lot. It's only if the tracks are accurate, obviously. I don't expect Codemasters to produce anything amazing with the games.
Yeah.
They haven't been very good with the tracks recently. Suzuka's an old circuit, and even that is not properly done. So only if the tracks are accurate will I be able to accept that, really.
Well, 4 different drivers here on the same compound fighting for this. Yeah, R-Lane sees he has to pit now, and this is his chance to maybe get fastest lap again, or at least get a point out of this race if it doesn't work out all for him. Remember, this race ain't over. Halfway through the race right now. Yeah, anyway, yeah, about Zandvoort in Vietnam. If Zandvoort is done right, I mean, based off of the track,
Brilliant
what
track.
I've seen, they just got to go off of, yeah, they just got to go off of other games, at least from what I'm seeing. You know, with the way it looks, I'm just trying to think because, I wouldn't think that, oh, as we see, actually, Rizone and Felipe battling into turn 7, and here they go, side by side. Felipe stays ahead, but Rizone trying for the switchback. R-Lane and Gautier pit for mediums.
It's a long stretch to the end of the race.
Yeah, I mean, Zandvoort in Vietnam again. Vietnam being 28 laps and 50% races, which we'll see in ARL this next season. In F1 2020, those tracks possibly, if it is even on the calendar. As Atlantis, Bama go side by side, there's a little bit of contact almost, and they keep that clean. Yeah, no, Vietnam and Zandvoort. Vietnam being 28 laps is a street circuit. If they get it right, from what I'm seeing from other games, with how it is, if they get it at least decent, I'll be fine with it. The start of the S's, the Monaco corners, before the Suzuka S's that they have, the Monaco corners 11 through 14 look very tight. Those probably being the tightest part of the racetrack. So it's not the tightest street circuit, but it's definitely a street circuit that I think will have more overtaking, if that makes sense. Not in real life though. I don't expect that, but I just expect, at least in the games, to be a more chaotic than Baku, because I don't expect it to be very good in real life. I don't expect it to be all that everyone hypes it up to be. The thing is, it's like with Vietnam street circuit, and you think of street circuit, you think of not the most exciting racing, but I mean, with Vietnam, with how tight it is, the characteristics of the track, you might see some overtaking. You might see more than people expect. Now, Rizone gaining on Felipe into turn 7 or turn 6. And heading into the left-hander, side by side. Rizone is ahead this time, and Rapalucas has his chance to challenge again. Yeah, Zandvoort, now 36 laps. It's 72 lap race in real life. Kind of similar to Mexico, and kind of similar to the Monaco length with it. Short track, it's probably going to be about 1 minute 15, 1 minute 10 around there, to be honest. It's not going to be super long. It's just going to be a track that I think, with the banking, safety car restarts are going to be crazy. And I think with Vietnam, it's really like, how far do you back up the pack? We saw yesterday how Kagoda backed up the pack, but how far do you back up the pack to the right point? That's my question with this, because you don't want to back it up to the worst point possible. And, you know, with Vietnam, there's 2 left-handers in the final corner. Do you go with the first left-hander and have the game back you off early, or do you go with the final left-hander where it's a short straight to the line? Or do you back up the pack close to the line, kind of like Verstappen did in Brazil 2019, I'm sorry. And then with Zandvoort, it's just the banking. How are people going to judge the restarts? You know, that's what I'm really wondering with the safety car restarts. I mean, I don't know. It seems like an interesting track, but with the banking, I don't think we'll see many passes. There's a chicane there, for sure. There's 2 DRS zones in Zandvoort, so I'm just expecting, at least from what I'm seeing, at least the chicane that they have to be a good overtaking zone, and at least maybe Zandvoort to be crazy on safety car restarts, because turn 1 is similar like Hungary turn 1, so we should be able to see a lot, as we have R-Lane and Bama and Atlantis all close. R-Lane sets the fastest lap of the race, and now he's trying to go down the inside of Bama. Bama doesn't challenge. He knows it's the right decision.
Just a word on Vietnam, quickly.
Yep.
It has long straights, so if you back the pack up right to the line in a safe manner, of course, you'll reduce the slipstream effect, so it'll be less easy for the cars behind to overtake you. So that's just my thought on that one.
Yeah, I'm actually just looking at the schedule right now for F1, and I'm going to look at the track as we have ARL and Atlantis coming really close together into the Singapore Sling. Oh, boy. Well, now into the hairpin. It is going to be really close between these two. Arling might try a move here. He's going to try on the exit.
Will we see what... Will he try what Rizone tried?
Oh, around the outside. He does make contact around the outside. That has to be move of the season as of right now. Holy cow.
Fix it.
Yeah, again, a word on Zandvoort quickly before we see the Tax and Axe battle, the big battle we always want to see. The banking, the chicane at 11 and 12, it's such a tough spot, but it is able to make a dive bomb. It's kind of like the Nouvelle chicane in real life, but it should be less tighter. Now, Tax is actually gaining on Axe. Into turn 7. No, not enough. Behind that, there's Rizone and Sam trying to go side by side. Rizone actually is able to get a switchback going, but just not enough to pass. Is there a switchback able to be done here? No, there's not. Again, a word on Zandvoort. The banking, turn 13, such a weird kind of corner. A way to get into the corner with the way it is. I mean, you have to see the track yourself. I mean, there's 2 DRS zones at the track, so definitely some passing can be done. I originally thought it would only be 1. And that front straight, I mean, the start-finish line is so late, so easily with DRS, you can easily pass into, say, let's say, turn 1. And speeding in the pit lane is Rumbly Fungus. Another word on Zandvoort before I stop talking about it, as we're on lap 20. It's so late, it's kind of like Azerbaijan where the start-finish line is. That's kind of how close it is, as we're starting to form a 5-car, maybe even a 6-car train for P3. Axe really having to hold them off. And you see 6 cars as Axe. Yep. This is the right opportunity, I think. Right opportunity, but I'm assuming their tires are dead. So I'm just going to assume soft tires to the end of the race if Boker or anyone else tries to pit. Axe, what tires is it for him? It's mediums.
Mediums for both. Yeah, good shout. They've done about 10 on the other mediums, so can do another 10 on these ones easily.
Oh, sorry, Connor. Just her Tax and AMS Axe heading into the corner. Yes.
Oh no.
We should see Arlane kind of almost pass Axe here. It's gonna have an opportunity to do so. He might be able to get Sam Seed.
He does.
He's gonna go around the outside of the pit lane there, and yep, does get Sam. Now for position, as we have only Fungus's car right here, battling these guys. But Rizone behind Tax, behind that Felipe and Rapalucas battling for position. Do these guys try to stretch it out? I know Rizone and Felipe and Rapalucas are going to be able to do so in hards, at least as long as I think they will, but mediums is probably one of the preferred strategies in this race. How have they thought of the long game?
Boker pit, just...
He's got enough speed. He doesn't.
Yep.
F1 driver should be coming in this time as we see Paulo God getting a penalty. Rumbly Fungus going through these guys. He should be yielding to blue flags in the first place because that car could easily unghost, and that could be an issue. Battling lead lap cars, I know he's faster, but it's not going to help in the end here. F1 driver pits. Oh, Tax. Whoa.
He's really struggling now. He needs to get off those tires, and I think he will. Yeah, he dives in.
Yep. Now, Rizone does pick up a penalty, but will the guys here in hards go to the end? We have F1 driver getting passed by these guys. Rizone to a podium spot, and now Felipe Rapalucas right behind. F1 driver going onto the mediums, Tax going onto the mediums. Arlane should be able to get by at least one of them, I'm thinking, which would be Tax. I'm thinking that's the only person he might get. It might not be close enough, but it's going to be close as soon as Arlane catches up. Arlane on longer tires. Yeah, now it will be close, you see. As coming out of the pit lane is Tax, and he should be at least close to Sam. Let's look at how close this is. This is going to be another Hulkenberg and Perez. No, it will not this time, and Sam is ahead of Tax. Well, we've seen a non-safety car, virtual safety car race. We saw one of those in France. This tier has been so much cleaner this season, along with Tier 3. Really clean this season so far, with only 2 DNFs every race as of right now. As it stands, that's the way it is. But 2 DNFs, 3 DNFs is the most we've had, which is kind of a record to start out a season like this, with the amount of DNFs.
Arlane touches the wall again. He's now got Sam behind him, and Tax, and Axe. So, tricky times for the Haas driver. The reserve Haas driver.
Yeah, I mean, even if, like, Houndoom, he doesn't even show up today. I mean, he didn't show up. This is the 3rd race in a row. You've really got to think about it. Is Arlane going to be able to take that seat over Rapid Extreme? That's his decision since he's team leader. Now, Sam is trying to gain on Arlane into Sector 3. It's just not enough, but is a switchback or even an exit of the corner, when you're trying for the exit of the corner, is that even possible? Rumbly Fungus takes the fastest lap. And now, Boker on those mediums. How is it going to shape up? Because will Razone, Felipe Rapalucas try for a late race pit stop and go on to the softs? Do you think it's possible for one of them to at least try it?
Well, track position's important, so it's entirely up to them. Will they sacrifice? Will they sacrifice potentially some positions if they won't be able to get past? We'll have a look at Sam into turn 1. He's not made the pass just yet. Tax, Axe. It's awkward saying that, isn't it? They're all closing up on Arlane and Sam, so.
Yeah, I mean, someone who's we've seen really good in this race is actually behind this pack now. Axe. Now Sam Steed dives down the inside of Arlane and is going to get a move on. Now Sam Steed picks up a penalty while trying to pass him side by side, though. Will it be an illegal overtake? Will they have to let him by? We'll have to find out. Anyways, Sam Steed does get past him. No, not really. Yeah, I mean, F1 driver in those mediums, how is he going to catch Rapalucas? Because we saw last race those two coming into it. F1 driver starting to gain on Rapalucas little by little. Is it enough? Because, I mean, those hards are going pretty far, and they might go to the end. You know, is it even going to be enough for the hards to make it to the end? That's what I'm wondering, because those tires only last so long. I mean, even when they worn out, I mean, this track is so big on tire life as Felipe gets a penalty. Yeah, this track is so big on tire life that is F1 driver going to be able to catch him, as you see right now. 5-6 seconds now. Yeah, Milo, do the hards go to the end, do you think? Do they be able to last to the end at least without puncture or anything?
I think they will be able to. I think the wet weather stopped at just the right time, so they will be able to get them to the end. But
Rapalucas on Felipe down the inside, and he gets by. Apologize for cutting in there, because that move was going to be done sooner or later.
Big battle.
Continue.
To be honest, I forgot what I was going to say, but
I'm sorry.
Felipe now needs to stick with the Rapper. In the attempt.
Pinching almost. Looked like Massa and Magnussen all over again from 2017. Almost the same thing between Tax and Arlane, trying to repeat that almost. But that time that was in the wet condition. This time it's in the dry condition.
They do have history down that straight under the bridge, so I'm not surprised that they almost ended their races. Penalty for Boker. Might not do much. Look at the gap he's got.
Yeah, I mean, considering with Boker, I mean, he's kept these races clean on strict corner cutting. He's really learned what the difference is between regular and strict corner cutting. I know Boker, I used to hear everything about him when, you hear PR James Boker, you hear, oh my god, he's only good on regular corner cutting. Well, he's kind of proving that today in ARL, that it's not only regular corner cutting for him. TS Norris, 3-second time penalty for him. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these drivers in this lobby are used to regular corner cutting with most leagues. So, I mean, in the first place, when you get strict corner cutting at a track like Singapore, it's so hard to keep the track limits, and Boker only having 1 penalty is still impressive. Razone only has 2 penalties. Rapalucas has actually just a penalty, and Felipe has kept it. No, 1 penalty. Never mind. I thought he kept it clean. My apologies.
Felipe's doing really well. He had a rough start with damage. Oh, Axe locks up. And might be out of DRS of Arlane. It's hurting him now.
Ooh, Arlane also locked up too. Locked up the brakes, at least the front of the brakes. And that was not helpful with the right front. Now, Tax is gaining on Sam Steed. Arlane gaining on them. And Axe is out of DRS this time. Gautier on Danny for P13. This race ain't over, though. There could be a safety car. We saw how late the safety car came out in Bahrain. I mean, I don't think it's possible, though. Like, I really don't. But, hey, I mean, you know, people are trying to get a good position. People are trying to do what they can. So, who knows how this could all shape up. Obviously, you know, those tires, someone could get a puncture and crash on track. I mean, those hards for John have gone 17 laps. It's almost been since the start of the track conditions, since that actually started, when there was a little bit of spray. So, I mean, yeah. Gautier, Danny, side by side for P13
battle.
into the hairpin. Ooh, a little bit of contact there.
Still side
Now
by
down the
side.
inside again. Wow.
I'm
How did they
surprised
keep it
kept
side
that
by
going.
side?
That's impressive. Hats off to both of them. They're fighting for P13, but in a really respectful way.
AMS Tax picks up a penalty, and especially if you're back of the pack like Polo, Danny, Gautier, you're really expecting some sort of safety car or even VSC at this point. And I mean, you don't want to cause one because you don't want to be the cause of it, but hey, you're probably praying, this race is boring, this race needs a safety car. I agree in a way. I don't think it's boring, but I think that you definitely need a safety car at this point to intense the action at the front. Because remember, our lane actually spins it out and into the barrier,
it's a virtual.
and we might have it VSC. Well, I mean, did I call it or did I not? I mean, I mean, at least the VSC was right, but hey, I mean,
Yeah. I don't want to say it, but lane spun, guys.
yeah, there you go. Out of the race he goes, and that allows Alabama Outlaw to get up to a points position, allowing John to get even closer to him. Now that VSC out, and now Felipe trying to race Rapalucas down the straight for P3. Rapalucas needs to gain that time to rezone if he wants to have the chance at beating him. Now DRS is enabled, and back to the green flag. Rapalucas actually gained a real lot of time. He gained a second there on rezone. Was that the limitless glitch? He did. Because he gained a second there in the last part of the delta. I'm gonna assume either rezone slowed down or I don't know. That's questionable.
Yeah, no comment.
I wouldn't assume anything. I wouldn't assume, but I'm just gonna say he did gain a lot, so it does look a little bit weird. Either way, if that's rezone slowing down, Rapalucas, I don't know. I'm not gonna blame anyone. I don't feel like the blame should be put to anyone for that right now. As the yellow flag, Danny's actually out of the race, and what does this cause? 11 seconds between Polo and him. Doesn't even cause anything. Yellow flag, he's at the barrier, and we now have 4 cars out of the race.
Everyone's dropping out now.
Oh my god.
Still only the 2 virtual safety cars in this race. That's such a shock. How does that? I can't believe that.
So Norris might even give Axe a little bit of DRS to slap if in case he doesn't get off of Tax. But hey, I mean, he's gonna get it right here. And now Felipe's so close to Rapalucas, and Sam Steed and Tax are gonna go wheel to wheel this time. I'm gonna assume. Now Tax gaining on Sam Steed under the bridge. Oh, Tax locking up. P3 stays pretty close between Rapalucas and Felipe. And penalty for TSR Norris. Well, still close between Tax and Sam Steed. We have 4 cars out of the race.
Oh,
Tax!
Sorry,
An Axe!
Oh, I've got them mixed up. Axe tapped Tax. There we go.
Well, today Boker is tied with the most wins in Tier 1 in ARL. Today he can possibly beat that. Is it possible? I mean, it does look possible for him to beat it. Guys pitting onto the softs in the back of the field, such as Polo, who pitted earlier, Rumbly Fungus, and TSR Norris. Yeah, I mean, I don't think a late safety car will come out, but I'm just saying, we saw the BSC right there. Who knows? Yeah, it's Thrasher said, knew someone would. Yeah, I hear ya. I mean, it kind of did. Well, still staying close between P6 now. F1 driver actually not gaining on those mediums, though. I'm really surprised because those mediums, he was not even gaining. Oh, he has damage. Oh, okay. Alrighty then, that's why.
Oh, Rapalucas getting a bit out of shape. Felipe's. still running a very good race in 4th.
Actually, Razone has 2 penalties, if I'm correct. With the way it
Okay.
looks, Rapalukis has the penalty in the warning. So does Razone, 2 penalties and a warning. Now, Felipe has a penalty and a warning. So I'm just kind of curious here now. Rapalukis, Felipe, do they battle? Do they try to, you know, gain time on Razone? They are doing so right now. But the question I find is that, is Razone going to be dropped down to P4 outside the podium because of his 2 penalties that he has, that he picked up?
Well,
I don't know.
yeah, neither.
It's I don't know.
It's
It's
so hard to
too
manage
tight.
a track like this.
Too tight right now to tell.
Oh, Felipe taps back for Lucas.
Oh, he has damage. And look at that. Look at that. How much time that's going to lose for Felipe. Flipper has damage. And TSR Norris, fastest lap, so he's trying to get Racing Point another point in this race. Polo got pitted also a lap ago, trying to get the Alfa Romeo team some points along with F1 driver. F1 driver might be able to gain to Felipe now, considering the damage, but does Rapalukis have damage now? No, no he doesn't. Okay, Felipe just has the left side, and hopefully he can keep up with them, but now Rapalukis, it's his job, along with Felipe, to keep within this gap between Razone and him. Now, today, we could also, we could also have the biggest gap for a race victory.
Just keeps getting bigger, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. And now I'm just gonna look at the record for it. Biggest gap for a race win. 20.3 seconds back at Germany, or Austria, between Riles and Rapid Extreme in Tier 2 last season. And then you have behind that, actually, last season in Tier 1 at Germany, between DW and F1 driver. It's at 17.6 seconds. So right now, it looks like it'll be the most longest race gap between first and second, as of right now. Now, make sure you catch us next week at Australia for the race there for all tiers this next weekend. Either way, Milo, what's going on for LDRL for your league there? Latest partner with ARL, Rumbly Fungus, fastest lap.
We're at Bahrain next week, and last week it really did produce a Tier 1 cracker. It's just a brilliant track. To have it as round 2, it was moved from round 13 to round 2, just so, I don't know what the reason behind it was really, just a change.
Yeah, I mean, we added Mexico onto the calendar, so that's also good for us too here. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, cut in.
Hopefully people will be willing to join the streams for that. You know, if you're tuned into the Discord or anything, or the Instagram accounts, then, you know, you'll find information when and where you need it. So hopefully that will be just as good as Germany.
Yeah, GSR also has, we see John going by Bama. We also have GSR next weekend in Azerbaijan, another street circuit. I will be commentating that. That's all 3 tiers. So, Baku. Yeah, you say, oh no, silent. Yeah. Well, Baku. I mean, think about it. I mean, crazy track, street circuit. How is that race usually, Milo? How would you say that race usually turns out in the GSR? Even though it's crazy in general.
Wow. Yeah. It has the potential to be really clean. Like, I was lucky enough to commentate WOR a few weeks back, where mistakes happened. It was a really cursed race, effectively. Like, nobody wanted to be in the podium positions. That could easily happen. Could easily have TRL Martin putting on intermediates again, because that
I know.
happened.
I was just thinking about that.
Teammates battled right to the line. So much happened.
I was lucky enough to be in chat that race. I'm glad I got to be able to watch that one. That one was good. It gave me some kind of help of what we're going to see this weekend for GSR and Bahrain. Or, not Bahrain. Jesus Christ. Azerbaijan.
Yeah.
Tier 3 aren't racing at Baku. I thought they were. Oh, okay. That's right. I don't know. I thought they were. For all tier All tiers in TSR. I know it's tier 1 and tier 2. I know that for sure. I can confirm. This time. Bama does pit for at least soft tires, I'm going to assume. It's going to... I don't even know if he has time for another fastest lap considering this. I mean, he's got to pray he stays ahead of Boker. He changes his front wing. He's not going to stay at a Gautier, though. I know that. Yeah, he better stay ahead of Boker if he wants to chance the fastest lap. I mean, Boker doesn't want him to get another point. But hey, 26 points right now for Boker. For Rumbly Fungus, the fastest lap point. How will things go? Well, Axe and Tax stay really close between them. Those two trying to go back and forth at it. Racing Point versus Mercedes. Axe looked really strong at the start of this race as the final lap is underway. Axe looked really strong at the start of this race and just started to fade off. Why was that, Milo?
Well, sorry, I just received a message. There we go. To be honest, I don't really have an answer to that question on top of my head.
I mean, definitely with him being better in the intermediate conditions than he is in the dries, I can assume that's one of the reasons. And considering, you know, him going from mediums to mediums too, him being one of those people. TSR Norris gets a penalty. Definitely was not the most boring race. I'd say France was pretty... Not the
no, this had
I'd
great
say,
battles.
but DNF-wise, it was good, at least. So... Rapalucas isn't enough to beat Razone. Razone might be in the podium for the first time. F1 driver picks up a penalty. Boker heads into Sector 3 for the final time. What a performance. Dominated this one. Wow.
He's about to break an ARL record.
It's insane to think as soon as Boker came in here, it's insane to think 4 races in, he would keep that 100% win streak. Now he just needs to make it to the line. Mr. Boker, ARL history today. 4-time winner and 4 in a row. Mr. Boker is your race winner in Singapore. Now, Razone and Rapalucas, this is the difference between P2, 2.6 seconds right now that gap is. And how will that change to the start-finish line? Penalties, warnings. What will change? Will anybody appeal anything? Now, Razone to the line is going to take P2 on track, but Rapalucas from P11 to P2.
Oh, Felipe ran out of fuel.
Felipe. Oh, man. And will he get beat by F1 driver's penalties? F1 driver to the line, goes P5 after a race we saw F1 driver take advantage of with the tires. And Sam Steed fights, Tax, and Axe to the line. And Sam Steed is going to get ahead on track, but what will it look off of penalties? To the line, Sam, Tax, Axe. And Atlantis and John, the last 2 finishers, along with Gautier. Now, fastest lap in the end of the race was Rumbly Fungus. Jesus, double click to add text, I see. Oh, man. To the line, final point. John, Atlantis, how does things change? John stays behind Atlantis. And Mr. Boker is a 4-time winner, 4 in a row in ARL. History has been made. Yep. Now, Gautier coming to the line. P11 for him, his best finish this season so far. Now, Australia, the next race, keep that in mind. Let's see what happens there. What do you think happens in Australia, Milo?
Well, you've got more death corners, essentially. You've got, trying to think of the corner. 1, 2, 3, 4. Turn 5, I think that's a flat-out right-hander, can easily catch you if you go offline. You've got the chicane, the fast left-right through 6th gear. So much room for error. It's all about consistency there as well. As with Singapore, most people kept it really clean today, so I'm really confident that we can have another street race in Australia. It's the top 3 right for actually.
Oh, biggest gap for race win. Yeah, 55 minutes that race was. No safety cars really, just only VSCs. Wow. I expected at least one.
Why has it started raining again?
Yeah, it's just, that's the glitch it does. I don't know why it does that. It just does the glitch with the weather every time you have rain in the race. But yeah, let's do the top 3. Top 3 gonna get an interview. Now, oh my god. What a race that was with the strategy. 4 different drivers. Rapid Lucas joins us. Let's see who else is going to join us. You have Boker who joins us. And just right on zone. Mr. Boker, make sure you include your audio. 4 in a row. How about that?
Well, that was just dominance. It was great because like I just won the race at the crossover period because my pace was so good at that time. So then I was debating what strat to do because it was mediums to hards and well it was either mediums or hards and I decided to do 2 medium stints because like mediums just warms up so much quicker in this like crossover period. So and like as I was in clean air and I just went for it and it paid off. Like I was just clean air, I was just dominant. It was a really good win. Like I've never expected to be 24 seconds ahead. Like people are gonna say pad traction. It was
You beat me to
tight
it.
for half of basically the whole race. Like well, not the whole race, but you know what I mean. It was just a good strat and keeping out the walls as well. That's a big factor. Like if you're in the walls, then your race is over. But I didn't do that. But yeah,
ARL
it was
history.
dominance.
4 in a row. What do you got to say about that? 100% win streak.
Yeah.
Stole my
Bloody hell,
question.
It's great because you know I didn't expect to win 4 in a row. I want to make it 5, but it might not. We'll see. Because Australia's next race are not great there, and if ARL
You're not great
races
anywhere,
probably
right?
won it.
Gets
It'll be a
Bowen
close one.
DAR, not great there.
And I'll probably
There you
finish
go.
one, but yeah, it's great because I've never expected it. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, Australia's a pad
And-
track, but...
no,
Oh,
it's
go ahead,
not.
sorry.
It's real.
Sorry.
Trust me.
Oh, it's... I swear, like, I'm always good at Australia, I swear. Like, I don't know
Yeah,
if that's
it's
just mere pad
more
track,
like
I
that.
don't know. Yeah.
It
me, it
requires
just seems like a
precision,
pad
so
track.
I'd say it's a real track, but you know. And
A lot of
adding on to things, I've now got a massive championship lead, so it's great.
Yeah. Holy cow. Yeah. How do you look into the next 3 races being Australia, Spain, and Hungary?
That'll be tricky. I'm just aiming to get on the podium all them 3, and maybe if something happens, I can win. But I don't expect to win them. Like seriously, like Australia maybe, but Spain as well. That's an alright track for me. But I don't Hungary. I've never been good there, so we'll see.
Well, Milo, make sure you invite Razone. Milo, what's your... do you have any questions for Booker?
Oh, you stole mine. You're admitting
Robbery.
to, you know, not being brilliant at the next track, so we'll put that in quotation marks for now because
Oh yeah,
can see you
we'll
don't
keep that in
know.
our heads.
Who do you think then will be rivaling you throughout those races?
Felipe and Rapper, and if Arlene races, then yeah, like he's definitely a rival. Them 3, those are who
Alright.
I'm racing, and maybe F1 driver. That's just if he's there.
Yeah, he's often very good with the strategy.
Yeah.
You showed that today. Alright, congratulations on the win. Rapper Lucas now into you, P2. P11 to P2. Drive today. Definitely different with the strategy. You chose hards and you stayed on them the whole race, inners to hards. Definitely not the one you were expecting in Singapore, one of your better tracks. I mean, P2 off of penalties, that's something you're used to. Getting a place off of penalties, how about that though? Include audio.
So yeah, first off, I'm obviously a little bit disappointed that it rained so much. You know, we only expected a wet qualifying and then used a wet setup as well, which was a big mistake. And then my final quali lap didn't have enough time to get round for another lap, so obviously I started down in P11. Good start, then there was an absolute cluster in turn 4 or 5, whatever, you know what I'm talking about. Like 10 cars smashed into each other. Then on the crossover period, I was like, I'm going to go into hards because I know I can make them to the end. Unless there's an unexpected safety car, the medium runners will never catch us. And then because Rumbly Fungus pitted on the set,
Oh,
like he
what
was obviously a
name?
lap down, he pitted when I came into the pit lane and they went to change my tyres. They just waited there for 5 seconds. They like ran out of the pit lane. They did a Daniel Ricciardo at Monaco, which was really frustrating because I probably would have come out with Axe and F1 driver. And of course, I'm not saying I would have contended with James for the win because he was, you know, far down the road. But yeah, I definitely would have been further ahead and wouldn't have had to, you know, push as hard as I did towards the end. And then yeah, realised Rizzo had a penalty, so it was just a time trial between us towards the end. I just didn't want to get that final warning. I know he was probably pushing because he could afford to get 2. So.
Yeah, I mean, with how today went for you, I think it's definitely a positive from where you started P11. With the wet setup, I mean, you could say, well, last season's champion still shows he's got some talent here, and definitely, I'm not saying you don't have talent, but I'm just saying, you got shows that you're still here and contending for race wins and podiums.
I showed
after
my talent
the
at
bad luck
Bahrain.
start.
You know,
Yeah, you could
Last
dive
corner,
one
yeah.
out.
last corner.
Last corner, yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
last week was the takeout week for league racing, and obviously beating James at Spain. That was the only positive that week. And then this
Yeah,
week was
because you
the
violated
recovery
the final
week,
corner.
and you didn't qualify anyway.
Yes, I did.
The final six was like 4/10 faster than everyone. Oh god. Anyway, so yeah, it's been the recovery weekend. DAR started P14, got up to P2, and then same here. So yeah, very happy with that.
How do you see yourself into Australia and Spain and Hungary?
And yeah. So what's after Hungary as well?
Yeah.
Just
Austria.
okay. So Australia, I think, is going to be decided on sort of who can just be the most consistent in the race, because it's quite an odd track. Not much overtaking goes on, but then it's also very hard to stay within the limits of the track due to a lot of the corners being like you can invalidate very easily, like, or just get warnings or whatever. So yeah, I'll just hope to get on the podium again. Spain, I'm quite fast at Spain. Obviously, no one will be absolutely annihilating the final chicane, unless you leave it on regular, which I don't think you will. I think,
Yeah, please. How about you put it on no flag so we can just take the MotoGP line?
yes.
Jesus Christ.
Or just use the classic
I mean-
layout. No chicane at all.
Yeah. No chicane at all. Yeah, just straight on. We do that in DAI. You see, promotion.
You love it.
Since Boker says he's so bad at these racetracks coming up, do you think how much do you think he'll do to keep you away
Whoa,
from the
you
race
just
win?
cut out differently. What did you say?
I said
just-
with Boker saying he's not so good at these next racetracks, how do you think he'll be challenging you?
He told me he was slow at Singapore.
Yeah.
No, it seriously was. It's just for strat.
Yeah, I think actually one thing I wanted to touch on actually was obviously the medium strategy clearly didn't pay off very well for most of the runners, but because obviously James had the gap, I can like confirm the hards were at like 80 degrees for like the first 5 laps, that they were stone cold. So I let Felipe go,
Yeah, that's what I did.
and then
mediums.
yeah, you got a lot. I could just
Yeah.
tell all the medium runners got so much more grip, and then ARL smashed his wing and lost all of them like 10 seconds. Oh, what a lad!
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, me and
Solid.
Sam were about it. And he said Arnie had damage.
Yeah, he had like no wing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I don't think Razon will be joining us.
Okay.
Oh god, sorry. Go ahead.
It is good to
You're-
return to the
you're-
podium.
sorry.
You know, I've matched what my dad did
One
2 days
race.
ago, so you know, I'm proud of myself. Yes, Williams boys. Milo, you had a pretty shocking race yesterday. Anyway,
I think
No,
you
I
could
didn't.
blame it on your dad.
Jesus.
you had a shocker. You finished 7th or 6th?
7th in the end.
Finished 7th. Yeah, 7th.
Silent, you had a
Yep,
great
7th
race,
on
didn't you,
penalty.
mate?
'cause-
Not my fault, like half the grid had damage and they just parked their car on the apex.
Well,
Idiots.
Thank Arlene, I suppose. He did exactly the same thing. But yeah, one of the more boring
It's fun.
races. Lane spun,
Lane
yes,
spun.
Lane did indeed
Lane
spun.
spun.
Yep. Roselle
Finger
decided to
boy.
stay on the into
What's
two
her name?
laps after it was bone dry. I mean, what a genius. Absolute genius. Miracle worker.
Alrighty. Milo, next week we're in Australia for Tier 3, Tier 2, Tier 1. What do you expect this next weekend? And congratulations on P2.
Yep, congrats guys. Well, another street circuit. We go back-to-back street circuits for the first time ever as well. Didn't even have a street circuit last season, so everyone's learned a lot from Singapore. We've seen some brilliant battles in Singapore, surprisingly. So I expect more of the same at Australia. More mistakes made. Safety car
Just listen
didn't
to
appear
John and
today,
Palmer's quote
so
and you'll be fine.
you have to be alert on a street circuit. There we go.
Yep.
I'm sure people will, because it was very clean today. People are complaining.
Yeah. I
their
thought
own
there was a
reasons,
safety
but-
car like lap 20 something. And it's like, my heart almost dropped because like, I just hate
Oh,
safety
phone
cars.
dropped. That's another thing that's dropped.
Why do I
Those
get the
two, right?
feeling? Why do I get the feeling James was just vibing like the whole race? I feel like that was.
Oh yeah, I would.
What music on?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
didn't have
he had his
that,
phone
but
up.
I
He was
just-
watching a Tiro Limitless video.
Lean and
good
none
fan
or
boy.
race.
Yeah, lean and none
Yeah,
or race.
Well, I'll tell you what, I
The
would've been
kids
one
on in the
that lost the
background.
race.
Yeah, it's not that big. Well,
I think
you
none
don't
of
need a
that
lot of
race.
Yaris at Singapore.
Yeah, not many streets.
Yeah, it's easy to save it like
Oh.
second and third sector.
Somehow I managed to
Either
run out
way.
of fuel. I don't actually know how, but I ran out of fuel, so yeah.
Either way, the next race is in Australia, next week in Melbourne. Then, after that, it's Spain and Hungary, or yeah, Spain and Singapore? No, we don't go to Singapore again. Oh, no, Spain and Hungary.
Wow.
And then after that, it's kind of almost toward the halfway point of the season. So, Mr. Boker leading the championship by a ton already. At least, I'm going to assume almost...
It's a full
almost,
race,
maybe even a race. Yeah, I was going to say, with Felipe's finish today, Rapalucas, you in points. I mean, yeah, I'm going to assume that's almost a
Wait,
full race already. And with the way it goes.
How about I do the math?
So-
for you? So
Okay, good.
28 points, I think. So yeah, that's pretty good.
Wow. That's actually a full race considering the pole and fastest lap. Yeah, that's the full
Yeah.
race and a point.
Whoa, he had pole and fastest lap.
Nah, Paul.
Yes.
Nah, I didn't have the fastest lap.
Anyway. Anyway, that's really about it from all we have for today. Yesterday was tier 2, Friday was tier 3. Saw great action from this weekend. Hopefully we can carry that great action into Australia next week. Alright, well, thank you guys who watched today, and thank you guys who tuned in. And we will see you in Australia next time out for tier 3, tier 2, and tier 1. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you then.